Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists, and this time we have on Luke Coogan, who has made top cut at the Northern Irish Open, I believe the first ever Northern Irish Open run by Northern Card Gamings, or NCG, and they have run this event, offered some amazing prize support, and got a really good turnout, and Luke managed to top it with a Pendulum deck featuring the ENDYMION engine. So let's run through his list then. 1 Sloth, 1 Black Fang, triple Sorcerer, 1 Destrudo, double Endymion, triple Harmonizing, double Jacko King, triple Master Cerberus, double Purple Poison, triple Servant, triple Darkworm, 1 Gate Zero, 1 Time Gazer, double Dragon Shrine, double Alliance, 1 Foolish, double Pendulum Core, triple Desires, triple Spell Power Mastery, and 1 Upstart Goblin. So obviously the Endymion engine consists of the Spell Power Mastery, the Servants, and the 2 Mighty Masters of Magic that have been brought in here. This is very similar to the sort of thing that we've seen from the PPG events over in America, although I believe they typically only put in 1 copy of Endymion, whereas Luke has opted to play 2. And he's just running the 1 Amorphage Sloth because it is able to be Pendulum summoned out multiple times. For the extra deck, 1 Vortex, 1 Savage, 1 Dawn Dragster, 1 Ignista, Dweller, Tornado, 1 Beat Cop, pretty interesting because it's just a generic Link 2 with some good arrows and a semi-decent effect, a Borrowload, a Borrowsword. Then for the Guard Dragons, he's got Agapane and LP, you don't really need the others. Then Electromite, a Hieratic Link, which allows you to stun your opponent with some more interesting plays, the Phoenix, and of course Triple Burst, which allows you to do that interesting combo that I believe has been shown off by a few people before, including Zeki. So if you want to check out the full combo that he used, head over to Tier 0 Games and they have that for you there. In terms of the side deck, a triple Denko, triple Pancratops, triple Droll and Lockbird. Pretty standard. The Denko is a really nice option that this kind of deck has available to it, so you can shut down so much back row. And triple Red Reboot again, being able to shut down back row is very important in this format, especially given the increase in Orcust that we're going to be seeing in the near future, since they will be opting to put in sort of 3 disruptions in the form of back row at least. And then a very interesting 3-card set here. We have Double or Nothing with Utopia and Utopia Double, which allows you to, I believe, turn itself into something bigger. It allows you to add the Double or Nothing from your deck to your hand, and then special summon from your extra deck a Utopia Xyz monster, except for Utopia Double. So you can go from Utopia into, you can go from Utopia Double into normal Utopia, and then you have access to Double or Nothing, which allows your monster to make a second attack during the battle phase and double the attack of your monster during the damage step only, which is very, very nice for being able to push with some interesting OTKs. So a pretty interesting list, some cool spice in the side, and let's go on to the additional commentary. Well, I think we'll start off with the rounds then. So round 1, he went up against a pure Pendulum Magician deck. He went 2-0 here, winning the die roll, making the full board game 1, and then he was able to break the opposing board and set up some disruption in game 2 for the next turn. So a pretty quick one there. Round 2 against Salamangre, it's 2-1, playing against Ben Challoner, who you probably have seen his list. Shoutouts go to him for being a really nice guy. Luke won the die roll and won game 1 as the opponent did not open a hand trap to stop the board, and then lost game 2 because Ben was able to set up both the Salamangre traps with Ash in hand, which is virtually impossible to be played through from a Pendulum side. And then in game 3, Ben was able to drop a Droll when Luke added the Endymion to hand, and then ogred the Electromite, but he was still able to win by sending Sloth from the Electromite and ending with Sloth and the Endymion, which he searched, which actually puts on some really strong pressure. If you can put something like Sloth and any kind of negate, then you apply a lot of pressure to Salamangre so they can struggle with. Round 3 against a pure Thunder Dragon variant, going 2-1 here again. So game 1, Luke won the die roll, the opponent didn't open a hand trap, so he won. Game 2, the opponent did not open particularly well and could only make a Colossus really, but since Luke was able to just draw 5, since Luke drew 5 search cards and a Pancratops, he wasn't able to do anything from there, and then in game 3 he was able to do the full combo again. Round 4 against Salamangre, going 2-1 again, losing the die roll this time. The opponent bricked with hand traps and passed. and then Luke attempted to OTK, but after the Vela and the Ash and the Ogre, he was unable to do that, so has to end on Hieratic Link and Vortex, which is still very strong, bouncing the opponent's normal summon and summoning a Sloth, after which the opponent just scooped. In game 2, the opponent went first, opened Imperial Order, Anti-Spell, Fragrance, Ghost Ogre, and a combo with Gazelle, which is very strong. Luke was able to play through some of it, but in the end it was just too much. And in game 3, once again, Luke made the game-winning board and just took the game from there. Round 5 against True Draco, the opponent started with Border and multiple Floodgates game 1, so unfortunately he lost this one. But in game 2, Luke was able to make a worse version of the normal field. He banished all of his dragon monsters from the Desires, so he ended on something like Endymion, Dweller, and Jackal. Draco actually really struggles with Endymion and Dweller from there, so he just won that one. And then in game 3, the opponent opened really well, but Luke had a red reboot, so just hit him with that and OTK'd. Round 6 against Orcus, going 1-2 here against Tom Rose. Lost the die roll, had to play through the Azathoth turn 1 because this was pre-ban list. Cleared most of the opposing board and some disruption with the Endymion and then Dweller. The Dweller got fog-bladed in the end phase, and there was a Kaiju for the Endymion during Tom's turn, so he lost from there. In game 2, Luke made a full board again. The opponent, Tom, tried to play through it and baited everything but one negation, but the Abyss Dweller on top of that was just too much. And in game 3, they start in time, and there's an Aqua Dolphin, which absolutely just takes the game from there. Round 7 against Trickstar, a swift 2-0 here. Losing the die roll, the opponent opens really strong, and Luke got disrupted a lot by Reincarnation, banishing most of the good monsters, and basically just having to summon a Cerberus and hope it got him there. Unfortunately, it was a really bad matchup for the opponent, as Trickstar just really struggles to get over the big monsters that Pendulum throws out, so Luke won after eventually drawing into some scales. Game 2 he doesn't really remember that well, but the opponent opens pretty badly, and there was some disruption that was able to be established against the opponent in that round. So that's 7 rounds, just the one loss against Orcus, Tom Rose in round 6, so putting Luke into a very strong position at the end of this event. In terms of the siding, there are 0 changes going first. For the different decks, we have Pendulum Magician Pure, the 3 Pankratops coming in, Sloth, Upstart, and Destrudo going out when you're going second. Obviously, you don't really care about establishing a Sloth so much, since it's not going to be super relevant. And interesting, the Destrudo coming out, but this is not a deck that abuses Yazzie, so it's not the kind of thing you'd expect to be really relevant. Against Salamangreats, once again, Pankratops coming in, and the Utopia Double Package 2. Upstart, Destrudo, Shrine, and Desires all coming out from the deck in this version, and then presumably some of the Floodgate monsters from the extra deck coming out as well. Against the Pure Thunder, once again Pankratops come in just in order to deal with the Titan interrupt, and then Upstart, Sloth, and Destrudo going out. Against Orcus, the 3 Joel going in. That was because they were going into time on the off chance that would stop the Black Ship play. Normally you would side Denko or Pankratops in those cases, and the Upstart, Sloth, and Destrudo coming out once again. And for Trickstar, 3 Reboot going in. It was a more trap-heavy version of the deck, and Sloth, Destrudo, and Upstart all coming out. So very, very easy side-outs for Luke, taking the same cards every single time. Onto the additional information, he said it was a really great event, hosted and run really well by Adam Statics and NCG. He thought that playing the Pendulum Magician deck with the Endymion engine in here is probably the best deck for the event. It's consistent, powerful, and has an auto-win versus every deck in the format. People would also be unfamiliar with the Endymion cards, so they wouldn't be very well prepared for them. And it's also got a really good Salamangreat matchup because of the Hieratic Link, Sloth, Dweller, and Protection for them. And now it also has a really good Sky Striker matchup because of the Endymion cards, as they find it really hard to clear a single Endymion with a counter on it. The hardest and easiest matchups for Salamangreat is probably the best matchup for this deck, but it does have a good matchup versus any deck with a low ceiling. He'd say that trap decks are probably the hardest matchup due to things like Anti-Spell and Strike, but it's also addressed in siding cards like Red Reboot and Pankratops anyway. The sort of unusual stuff, there's not really a lot that a lot of people who knew much about how to build the Endymion version yet, so his build just incorporates all of the good Pendulum cards into a consistent list that he knew he wanted to do. He chose to play Sloth over Goliath because the attack stat never really matters. He only ever summons it from the Hieratic link anyway, and it's more valuable to be able to Pendulum summon it in the event that the opponent, in the event that the Electromite gets Ogred in matchups where the opponent is reliant on the extra deck, then it just proves to be extremely strong. In terms of how that helps or hinders the deck, he says it was really good in general. Pendulum Call, Searching, Harmonizing is still really powerful. Being able to access your extra deck as a toolbox in a useful and sort of in a variety of matchups, particularly having more access to traps like access to interrupts like Dweller and Tornado is really useful. In terms of changes he would make to the list, he thinks that is really good overall, but we'll have to see how the format evolves post Dark Neostorm and how that affects the deck and its particular matchups. Obviously the Endymion structure deck was super influential for this deck, but he's been playing Pendulum since it was basically out, and Servant of Endymion and the Master as well are really powerful additions to it. He's pretty excited about the impact of Dark Neostorm and how it will change the deck. Not that there are necessarily a lot of cards in it that would be incorporated into it, but it's definitely going to be changing the format a lot, so the deck will have to adapt to those changes. Shoutouts go to Team Mambo, the best team in Ireland, everyone who lent him cards, shoutouts to his girlfriend, and to Pierluigi for telling him not to play Striker. So thanks very much, Luke, for coming on and sharing your list. Massive congratulations on making Top Cut at the first ever Northern Irish Open, an amazing event, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you in the future. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.